my $10,800? Stop acting like a victim!
You didn't need that money anyway.
You are being selfish!
You don't need that cash!
Why were my savings taken without
Families
permission?
should sacrifice for one another.
Stop ruining this vacation!
Vacation!
You're selfish! We already told you, you don't need that money! I hope you all have an amazing trip.
The first voicemail came while the cruise ship was still somewhere in the middle of the Caribbean. Then another. Then another. 25 missed calls. 12 frantic voicemails. 3 messages from neighbors. 1 from a locksmith. And 1 from a moving company. My mother stared at her phone so long her smile slowly disappeared. What is this? My sister reached for the phone, laughing nervously. Probably something with the house. The laughter died the moment Mom played the latest voicemail. Mrs. Carter, this is to remind you that the property must be vacated today. The new owner has already completed closing. If any belongings remain after 5 o'clock, they'll be placed into storage according to the agreement. Silence. My father's face drained of color. What new owner? Mom looked around the luxurious dining room, as if someone would explain everything. This has to be a mistake. Then my phone rang. I answered on the first ring. Oh, sweetheart, Mom said, suddenly sweet after weeks of insults. Something horrible has happened. They're saying our house was sold. I know, I replied calmly. What do you mean you know? I sold it. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. You what? My father exploded. My sister snatched the phone. You can't sell our house. I smiled, even though they couldn't see it. It wasn't your house. Then I hung up. But that's not where this story began. 3 months earlier, my name is Emily, and for most of my life, I was the responsible daughter. While my younger sister Madison chased luxury vacations, designer handbags, and expensive hobbies, I worked. 2 jobs through college, long nights, weekend shifts. Every extra dollar went into savings. My parents called me boring. They called Madison full of life. Every family dinner ended the same way. Emily, Mom would sigh, you work too much. Madison would laugh. Seriously, you save money like you're 90. Dad always joined in. You can't take it with you. Funny, because they had absolutely no problem taking it from me. After college, I landed a great remote accounting job. The salary wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. I invested carefully, saved aggressively, lived below my means. Nobody in my family knew exactly how much money I had. I preferred it that way. What they also didn't know was that my grandmother had quietly left me something before she passed away. Something she specifically asked me not to reveal until the time was right. Remember that detail. It matters later. Meanwhile, Madison announced she wanted the vacation of a lifetime. A luxury Mediterranean cruise, private balcony, spa package, 5-star dining, nearly $11,000. There was only one problem. She couldn't afford any of it. Neither could my parents. That should have ended the conversation. Instead, it somehow became my responsibility. You've got plenty saved, Mom said over dinner. I'm not paying for Madison's vacation. Dad rolled his eyes. She's your sister. So? You don't even spend your money. Madison leaned back with that smug smile I'd grown to hate. It'll just sit in your account. No. A complete sentence. Apparently one they couldn't accept. For the next several weeks, they pressured me constantly. Phone calls, family dinners, passive-aggressive texts. You'll regret being selfish. Family helps family. Money changes people. The irony was almost impressive. Then one Friday afternoon, I logged into my bank account. The balance looked wrong. Very wrong. $10,800, gone. My hands froze over the keyboard. I called the bank immediately. After verifying my identity, the representative explained that someone had withdrawn the money using paperwork connected to an old joint youth account my mother's name had never been properly removed from. Technically legal. Morally disgusting. I drove straight to my parents' house. Mom opened the door wearing a smile. Oh, she wasn't even surprised to see me. You noticed. Where's my money? Madison walked into the hallway carrying cruise brochures. Mom folded her arms. We used it. My stomach dropped. You stole from me. Mom actually laughed. Don't be dramatic. Dad joined her. You don't need that cash. Madison waved one of the brochures. This vacation is once in a lifetime. I looked each of them in the eyes. Every one. You spent $10,800 without asking. Mom shrugged. You'll make more. Then she delivered the sentence I'd never forget. You don't need that cash. I expected anger. Instead, I felt strangely calm. That was their first mistake. Because I stopped arguing. I smiled. I hope you all have an amazing cruise. The three of them exchanged confused looks. Mom smirked. See? I knew you'd get over it. They had no idea what was coming. Here's the part they never bothered asking about. The house they lived in wasn't theirs. Years earlier, my grandmother had become increasingly worried about my parents' spending habits. She knew they'd lose everything eventually. Instead of leaving the house to them, she sold it to a family trust. A trust where I was the sole beneficiary once I turned 28. 6 months earlier, that birthday had quietly come and gone. The paperwork was finalized, the deed transferred. Legally, I owned every brick. I let them continue living there, rent-free, utilities practically covered. I never mentioned ownership because I didn't want power over them. I wanted peace. They confused my silence for weakness. Big mistake. The day after they boarded the cruise ship, I called my attorney, then a real estate agent. Within 3 weeks, the property sold to a young couple expecting their first child. They loved the neighborhood. They paid cash. Closing happened while my family posted smiling cruise photos online. Cocktails, sunsets, luxury dinners, captions about living our best life. Using my money. Every notification I saw only strengthened my resolve. The buyers agreed to let my parents retrieve personal belongings after returning. I wasn't trying to ruin their lives, just reminding them actions have consequences. Then came the cruise's final day. 25 missed calls, panic, threats, begging. The entire emotional cycle happened within 40 minutes. Mom cried. Dad screamed. Madison called me every name imaginable. Finally, I answered. You've made your point, Dad barked. No, I replied quietly. I've enforced a boundary. You can't throw family out. I didn't. I sold my property. Mom began sobbing. Where are we supposed to live? I remembered standing in their hallway weeks earlier. You'll figure something out. Those were her exact words after taking my savings. Funny how perspective changes. The next few days became a whirlwind. Relatives started calling. At first, they believed my parents. Emily sold the family home. Emily abandoned her parents. Emily was heartless. Then I emailed everyone the documentation. Bank statements, withdrawal records, property deeds, grandmother's trust documents, attorney letters, every receipt, every signature, every fact. Within hours, the phone stopped ringing. Several relatives actually apologized. Others quietly admitted they'd been lied to. Madison's friends discovered the truth through social media. The luxury vacation she'd bragged about, paid for with money taken from her sister. The comments were merciless. She deleted every photo. Dad tried threatening legal action. His lawyer refused the case after reviewing ownership records. Mom attempted guilt. I carried you for 9 months. I know, and I spent years protecting you from consequences. Not anymore. Madison demanded I reimburse them for hotel expenses. I almost laughed. She'd never reimbursed me for the cruise. Nobody in that room had expected accountability. Now it had arrived all at once. 6 months later, the young family who bought the house planted flowers in the front yard. Children's toys sat on the porch. Laughter replaced arguments. The home finally belonged to people who appreciated it. As for my parents, they moved into a small apartment. For the first time in decades, they paid rent. Madison found a job. Apparently luxury vacations are less appealing when you're paying your own bills. And me? I recovered every dollar through legal channels and insurance, invested it wisely, and eventually purchased a beautiful home closer to work. Not because I wanted revenge, because I finally stopped rescuing people determined to exploit me. People often ask whether I regret selling the house. No, I regret believing that love required endless sacrifice. Family should never treat your kindness like an unlimited credit card. The greatest revenge wasn't watching them panic. It was realizing I no longer needed their approval to protect my own peace. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't shouting. It's quietly closing the door after someone has spent years convincing themselves you'd never walk away. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who had no idea who they were dealing with? Tell me your story in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more revenge stories every week.